It's Money Mind Shift Monday. And on Mondays, welcome back. My name is LaKeisha Mallett. And on Mondays, we discuss an idea, a thought, a strategy, a principle that we will employ that will help expand our mindset and shift and transform our relationship with money from the inside out. And today, in our our Plan to Prosper Money Management and Planning Journal, we are going over on this money mind shift principle, I should say. It is from, let me get to my October. We are discussing Romans 13 and 8. So if you see my color coded notes in here today, Romans 13 and 8, and it says, "Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another has fulfilled the law." So owe no man anything. So what does owe mean? Let's talk about it. Owe means to be under obligation, to pay or repay for something received, to be indebted to have a responsibility to do something to satisfy an obligation or a duty. So we talked about last week about how debt is a merciless master and how we need to be strategic on how we prioritize and we plan the funds that we have, right? Because once we get into debt, especially we're talking specifically consumer debt, once we have consumer debt, it's like falling into quicksand. It's like the hamster being on the wheel, right? I told you about my story about I shared like Barney and not Barney, Wilma and Betty, how da 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 charge it, right? Like every time there was an emergency that came up, anytime anything unexpected came up, I was like caught in this vicious cycle of get a little bit ahead, take 5 steps back. Get a little bit ahead, take 3 more steps back. Get a little bit ahead. So I was like in this constant cycle of not getting to the place where I could really fully enjoy my money because I felt bound, I felt restricted, I felt constricted. I didn't have the ability nor the means to really be able to do the things that were important to me in the way I desired to do them, right? So we talked about debt being a merciless master. So when it says to owe no man anything but our only indebtedness should be the love that we share and we show toward our fellow brethren. Like the video I talked about a little bit the end of last week when there has been this viral social media video going around about not giving to the poor. And it's like, who is going to be the people who help champion the cause of the poor? Who is supposed to be the ones who help the poor learn and understand you don't have to stay that way if we shy away from them? If we shun them for being in the state, in the situation that they find themselves in, if we pull away from, if we draw, if we become reclusive to those individuals, again, and I want you to remember, not specifically a dollar amount, we don't want to get to the place where we are turning our nose up at somebody else's situation, because one thing is for sure, 2 things are for certain. My sin is not your sin, but guess what? I have one, right? Because we all sin and fall short of the glory of God. So none of us are perfect. So although I may not do what you did, or I may not find myself in the same situation as you, except for the grace of God, there go I, right? That could have been me if the tables were turned. Or I could, like I tell my kids all the time, we're all one decision away from a totally different life. So we are not to pull away from or shy away from helping those who need our help. But we also are supposed to be in a place that we're not the poor, because we are supposed to be the ones who help and champion the cause of those who can't champion for themselves. So when it says, "Oh no man anything," it is telling us not to get into that space of indebtedness with our finances, for sure, where we have to be directed by our master, right? Because last week's scripture is, the servant, the borrower is servant to the lender, right? So if the lender has control over how we move, how we make moves, how we make our money moves, how we do the things that we do with our money, God doesn't want us to be tied like that financially, or obligated to, because we overextended ourselves with credit and debt, that we can't do the things that he is really asking and requiring of us to do to help move the world forward. So owing no man anything but your love is really getting to a place where spiritually and mentally we are at a place where we can love on other people. However, we need to show that love. And if showing that love is with our money, again, we're not leading with our pocketbook, right? Because there's one thing that I know. If you lead with the moolah, if you lead with the cheese, what is the saying? You don't be surprised when you draw the rats, right? Right. So our motive is not to lead with our money, but our purpose and our motive is to be able to use that as a resource to be able to help other people. We can't help others if we can't help ourselves. And that is just a fundamental principle and a truth, right? If you can't help your own self, who else you helping, right? Again, we want to get to a place where we are being strategic with how we allocate our funds and our resources, how we are putting a priority on where our money is going, and putting that priority in place is going to be one of the most beneficial things that we can do that will help us break the cycle and get out of indebtedness to other people. Because there are a few things that I wanted to highlight that being in debt does, and it prohibits us from doing and accomplishing. So one of the things I wanted to highlight and share with you all today is debt ties our hands. And I talked about this a little bit, or alluded to this a little bit earlier. It keeps us in a cycle of bondage, not being able to move when God tells us to move, to not be able to be in a position where we can bless and help and serve others who need our assistance, right? That is one of the biggest stressors and factors in life for most people. And so much so that one of the number one causes of divorce is money fights and money problems, right? So debt is a constant stress and a strain for most people on their lives, on their marriages. Debt is a big stressor. 3, debt impedes our ability to be able to build wealth. So debt is one of the things that keeps us from getting to our wealthy place. And again, if you're following this channel, or if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that my goal is to help people have a financial reset and to rewrite their money story. You may have not come from money, and that may be true, but the word also tells us a good man or a good woman leaves an inheritance for their children's children. So if you're good, if you leave an inheritance for your children's children, we should be getting to the place and the space where we have the capacity to be able to do that. And you can't leave something for generations coming behind you if you don't have anything to put away now to be able to care for them later. So those were the 3 things I wanted to highlight when it talks about owe no man anything, because you want to get to the place where you are being strategic, again, one of my favorite words, with how you allocate your resources and your funds, so that when you're in the best position to do what it is that God has called you to do in the way that he has called you to do it. Like I tell my children all the time, we're here to change the world for good and for God. And if we are here to do that, how can we best do that? And we won't best be able to do that with our hands tied, being in financial bondage, having the shackles on our hands, being tied to debt, being in this vicious cycle of, I'm going to a job that I hate because it pays the bills, or I have to go and I have to do this particular thing even though I don't like it or enjoy it, because of the money it brings into my household, right? We don't want to be tied in that regard to anything. We want to be able to move. We want to be able to give. We want to be able to sow. We want to be able to help. And that is part of what we are called here to do. So I just want to share that with you all today. That is Romans 13:8 that we went over in our Plan to Prosper Money Management and Planning Journal. If you owe no man anything, if you don't have any debt, share that with us in the comment section below. If you want to work your own plan and create your bankable blueprint, create your money map, design your plan to get to a place where that you are able to build wealth to go on and impact the world, drop that in the comment section below as well. Let us know where you are in your financial freedom journey. Again, my name is LaKeisha Mallett. I'm your partner in prosperity. I want to wish you all an amazing day to your success. Bye.